You probably know tesamorelin as the peptide that increases growth hormone and targets visceral fat. What most people don't know is there's a randomized controlled trial showing it significantly improves executive function. And that's what we're covering today. Welcome back to the Dr. Greg Jones Optimization Academy podcast. I'm Dr. Greg Jones, naturopathic physician, founder of Innovative Wellness Center here in Phoenix, Arizona. I lecture internationally on longevity and peptide therapy, and I've trained hundreds of practitioners on peptide therapy. And I've been following the research on tesamorelin for years. And one study in particular changed how I think about this compound. It's a 2012 trial out of the University of Washington that most people in the peptide space have never even seen. The data in that trial is striking, not because it's surprising mechanistically, but because it shows the visceral fat reduction peptide is actually affecting your brain chemistry. And here's what I want you to understand by the end of this video. First, how this growth hormone releasing peptide ends up protecting your cognition. It's not just about muscles or appearance. Second, the connecting mechanism that explains why losing belly fat also protects your brain. And third, whether this is something that makes sense for you. And if you've never thought about tesamorelin before, or you've wondered if it's just for body composition, this one's just for you. So let's do a quick review on what is tesamorelin. Tesamorelin is a 44 amino acid synthetic version of growth hormone releasing hormone, or GHRH. That's the natural signal your pituitary uses to release growth hormone. It was FDA approved in 2010 for reducing visceral fat in HIV patients with abdominal fat distribution from their medications. And here's how it works. Tesamorelin binds to the receptors on your pituitary gland and triggers growth hormone release. But it does it in pulses, the same way your body naturally releases growth hormone, with the biggest pulses occurring during sleep. And as you age, those pulses weaken. Tesamorelin turns the volume back up. You're not flooding your system with synthetic hormones, you're restoring your body's own rhythm. So think of your pituitary gland like a drummer keeping a beat. As you age, the drummer gets quieter and starts missing beats. And tesamorelin doesn't replace the drummer, it just helps him hit harder and stay on time. Now, when growth hormone releases, IGF-1 increases with it. And here's the thing most people don't know. IGF-1 doesn't just stay in your muscles. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and acts directly on your neurons. This is where it gets interesting. Your brain is very metabolically expensive, and it needs growth factors to maintain neurons, form new connections, and repair damage. And IGF-1 supports neuronal survival, promotes synaptic plasticity, that's your neuron's ability to reorganize and adapt, and it protects against neurodegenerative stress. And here's what happens when you age. Growth hormone naturally declines. So you may have heard of somatopause. And by your 60s and 70s, you might have only a fraction of the growth hormone you had at 25. And IGF-1 declines right along with it. That same decline that causes muscle loss and visceral fat accumulation also reduces the neuroprotective signaling your brain depends on. So what about that trial? In the Baker study, that 2012 trial I mentioned earlier, tesamorelin raised IGF-1 by 117% from baseline over 20 weeks, bringing people back from age-reduced levels back into the physiological range they had at 25 or 30. And the neuroimaging is what caught my attention. They measured GABA. That's your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, critical for focus and cognitive flexibility, and it increased across multiple brain regions in the tesamorelin group. They also measured myoinositol, a marker associated with Alzheimer's risk. In the posterior cingulate cortex, that's a region particularly vulnerable to Alzheimer's pathology, myoinositol actually decreased. These are tangible neurochemical changes, not subjective feelings, actual changes in brain chemistry on imaging. So is there a connection between visceral fat and brain inflammation? Here's a part that ties everything together, and that's the part most people have never heard. Visceral fat is not inert fat storage. It's an active endocrine organ, constantly producing inflammatory cytokines like interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and C-reactive protein. These molecules don't stay local. They enter the bloodstream, circulate throughout your body, and cross the blood-brain barrier. And once they reach your brain, they activate microglia. That's your brain's immune cells. And chronic activation creates chronic low-grade neuroinflammation, one of the major drivers of cognitive decline. It's implicated in Alzheimer's disease, it contributes to amyloid accumulation, and it drives synaptic loss. Here's an analogy. Your visceral fat is sitting in your abdomen quietly producing inflammatory signals that constantly bathe your brain. It's like someone slowly turning up the heat in a room. You don't notice it until things start breaking down and you start sweating. So when tesamorelin reduces visceral fat, you're not just improving your appearance. You're removing a source of constant inflammatory damage to your brain, while simultaneously raising IGF-1 for direct neuroprotection. Two mechanisms working in the same direction. More protection, less damage. So what do the studies actually show? Let's take a look at the actual data, both the strength and limitations. The Baker 2012 trial is a flagship study. 152 adults aged 55 to 87, both healthy and with mild cognitive impairment. It was randomized, double-blind, and placebo-controlled. The participants received tesamorelin or placebo for 20 weeks, with cognitive testing at baseline, 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and after a 10-week washout. They measured executive function, mental flexibility, processing speed, and planning ability. The Tesamorelin group showed significant improvement with a p of 0.005, and that benefit showed up in both groups. Healthy adults and those with mild cognitive impairment, they got sharper. Verbal memory showed a trend but didn't reach the same significance. So the benefit is specific, executive function and processing speed, but not necessarily memory. More recently, a 2025 study in the Journal of Infectious Disease looked at 73 HIV patients with abdominal obesity over 6 months. The tesamorelin group showed a trend towards improved neurocognitive performance, but the between group difference did not reach statistical significance. So here's my assessment. The Baker trial is strong, but the more recent trials showed a trend, but it didn't hit significance. We need larger trials, longer follow ups, and studies in different populations. But the mechanism makes sense, and the neuroimaging changes are real, but we're in the promising evidence category, not definitive proof. Hey everyone, if this is changing how you think about peptides and brain health, hit subscribe. I put out content like this almost every week. So, who does this peptide actually make sense for? If you're in your mid 40s or older, you have documented low growth hormone or IGF 1 on blood work, you're also carrying excess visceral fat despite reasonable diet and exercise, and you're concerned about cognitive aging or have a family history of cognitive decline, this is worth a serious conversation with a practitioner who understands this research. The studies usually dose between 1 to 2 milligrams subcutaneously, typically in the evening, but dosing should be individualized. Some people need less. And it should be checked against baseline IGF 1 and adjusted to your response. This also isn't a magic fix. If you're sleeping 5 hours a night, you're under chronic stress, and you're not exercising, tesamorelin isn't going to compensate. It works best when the fundamentals are already in place. But here's a safety note. If you have a history of cancer or active malignancy, this isn't the right move. Growth hormone, growth factors, and cancer have a complicated relationship. And if you're dealing with significant blood sugar dysregulation, have that conversation with your doctor first. This is a peptide that works, and peptides that work deserve respect and proper evaluation. So here's what we discussed today. Tesamorelin restores pulsatile growth hormone release, and that raises IGF 1 back to young adult levels. That IGF 1 crosses into the brain and supports neuronal health and protection against cognitive aging, while also reducing visceral fat, that source of chronic neuroinflammation that's been actively damaging your brain. The Baker trial showed real measurable improvements in executive function with neurochemical changes that align with what you want to see for brain health, and the mechanism makes biological sense. But the limitations are real too. The evidence is solid but not yet extensive, and the benefit is specific to executive function. But the signal is compelling enough that if you have documented growth hormone decline, excess visceral fat, and cognitive concerns, it's worth investigating with someone who knows the literature. And if you want a full breakdown on tesamorelin, check out my deep dive. The link will be in the show notes. And don't forget to like this video, share it with anyone you know that's struggling with weight gain and cognition difficulties, and subscribe for more content on peptides and longevity. I'm Dr. Greg Jones, and I'll see you in the next one.